So let's start working on Cucumber and let's start understand the Cucumber. So Cucumber is a software tool which is used for testing other software. Okay, so Cucumber itself is a software and which can be used for testing other software products. It could be any web application, or it could be any server based application, or whatever it is. So Cucumber can be used to test another software product. It runs automated tests written in a behavior driven development, that is BDD style. So it has the capability and ability to run the automated tests which are written in BDD style. So BDD is nothing but behavior driven development. I'll give you more examples and going forward about BDD. So BDD, it defines application behavior using simple English text, and the language is defined by Gherkin. You can write any automated test in a very plain English words, and these plain English words are defined by Gherkin when it comes to BDD. Cucumber was initially implemented in Ruby and then extended to Java framework. When the Cucumber is actually started, it does not have any support to other than Ruby. Now they are extended to Java. Okay. So you can try to see the difference between the tests which are written in a normal way and the tests which are written in a Cucumber fashion. Okay. So if you see on the right hand side, the tests which are written in a normal way. So these are the tests which are written with the help of framework, with the help of an automation framework. The tests are written on the right hand side. Okay. And more organized and more structured. But who can understand these tests? Even though these are organized and these are the structured tests, right? Who can able to understand these tests? Probably the person who has written the code. I'm talking about this one. The person who written this code, or the person who has technical knowledge on Java and Selenium, can able to understand the code which is written on the right hand side. Okay. And what about the customer or the client who wants to understand the code which is written by you? Most of the times clients are very much interested in understanding what kind of automation test cases you have written, or how many automated test cases you have written. They want to understand it. Yes.
Rajiv here.
Yeah.
So shall I do the recording so that I can also again refer?
Yeah, I given recording permissions to all of you.
Okay.
Yeah, you can record.
So where it will come? It will come and sit in my Zoom account.
In the documents folder, there is another folder called Zoom, where you can find all the recorded videos. Okay. And by the way, I'm also recording the session. I'll be sharing in case if you have any trouble.
Okay.
Okay.
When I clicked on recording, so there is a local recording option is there, and open and change. So nothing.
That's it. That's it. Just click on the record button. That's it.
I'm okay. Recording. Choose record separate audio files for each. Just I have showing the my recording at. So that's it, right?
That's it. Just click on the record, Maharaj. That's it.
Okay, that's it. Okay.
Do not worry if it is not recording for you. I'll be sharing the entire video at the end of the session.
Okay, sure. Thanks, Sudhir.
No problem. Okay. So the client wants to understand your code and he wants to guide you or suggest you if any test cases are missing. But most of the time, the test code is written like this in a technical format where he is not in a position to understand it. Okay, so that is where the Cucumber has implemented. The Cucumber has major focus to bridge the gap between the automation tester and the client, or the automation test cases and the client. On the left hand side, you can see the test cases which are written in the Cucumber fashion. On the left hand side, you can see the test cases which are written in the Cucumber fashion. You can see this. It is very easy to understand and very easy to readable. Anyone can able to read the scenario that you have written and can able to understand it. If you look at the first scenario, it says login test with valid credentials. Okay, so what he is doing, he's opening the WordPress application, clicking on the login link, entering the username with Sudhir, entering the password Sudhir8123. So click on the login button. Login should be failed. Close the browser. Okay, so this is how we write the test in Cucumber in the plain English words,
Sudhir,
followed by Gherkin keyword.
Sudhir?
Yeah.
So login should be passed, right? Actually, we are passing valid credentials.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah. Thanks,
Yeah.
Rajiv. Yeah. Yeah, you are right. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Login should be successful. So every sentence that you write in the Cucumber, make sure it should be followed by Gherkin keyword. The Gherkin keywords are given when, then there are a few more Gherkin keywords are there. So you should start with the Gherkin keyword and followed by a plain English text. Okay. So given open WordPress application, when click on login link, when enter username with, so there when enter password, when click on login button. So this is how you're supposed to write. So given represents the precondition. Okay, so prerequisites are prerequisite. Okay, the WordPress application should be opened is nothing but given. And when represent an action, when you're performing an action followed by when. Okay, so when you are validating it followed by then. If you write any sentence that is that talks about validation or that talks about the expected output, then you make sure you start with then. Okay, when you're performing an action, let's say clicking or entering or any action that you're performing, make sure you followed by when. Okay, and when you are making a precondition, there could be one precondition or multiple precondition, so then you should follow by given. So that is how the Gherkin keywords represents. And yeah, when you write a scenarios, okay, all the scenarios should be under future. Okay, so every file should be named with a future, and a future can contain a number of scenarios. You take a text file where you mention future, what future you are going to test, and you can write all the scenarios belongs to that particular future. So this is how the Cucumber test format, a future and number of scenarios, and each scenario contains number of steps, and every step is recommended is written in the recommended manner of Gherkin language.
Sudhir, what word we use? Genkin.
Gherkin. So the language is called Gherkin.
Okay.
So Gherkin is nothing but it's in a plain English text. The Gherkin language is nothing but a plain English text which has certain Gherkin keywords. That's it. I don't know why they call it as Gherkin language. It's just about a plain English text. Okay, so only thing they have certain Gherkin keywords followed by each sentence. Okay, any questions so far before I move on to the next slides? So one thing you need to remember is, so Cucumber is more into focus now. Okay, so if I'm not sure how many of you observed, if you take any UA automation job description, okay, or if you take any job description which has Selenium, they definitely have another tool, that is Cucumber. In every job description where Selenium is there or where Appium is there, they have Cucumber now. So many of the companies now expecting people should aware of Cucumber. See, most of the companies, they work for client, right? So when they work for the client wants to know what you have, what you are testing. The client is more concerned about the quality of the product. He wants to know what you are writing. He wants to give suggestions if something is missing. And it can only happen when you start writing the test cases in a plain English words. So that is how the clients are forcing the companies to write the code in Cucumber fashion. So that is why it is very famous now. And every company is trying to move towards Cucumber. If they already have the existing test, they are rewriting the test with the help of Cucumber again. Okay, so the more advantage of Cucumber is one can able to understand. The test can be readable not only by technical people, also by manager and the customer, client, and all the stakeholders who are involved in the product. Anyone can read, including the developers. Okay. So any questions before we move on to the next topic? Next slide.
No, sir. It's fine.
Yeah, thanks. Please let me know or stop me anytime if you have any question. Okay. So Cucumber is one of the behavior-driven, behavior data-driven tool, right? So behavior-driven development. Sorry. So Cucumber is a behavior-driven development. So what are the other behavior-driven development tools? So Cucumber is the most famous tool. And other than Cucumber, we have JBehave. JBehave. So Cucumber and JBehave has the implementation for Java. Any automation code can be combined with Cucumber. Any Java automation code can be combined with Cucumber. So any Java automation code also can be combined with JBehave. But which is the better if you say, so I recommend Cucumber with respect to job opportunities, with respect to easiness of the tool. Okay. Right. And NBehave. NBehave is basically for C#. And spec flow is also for C#. Okay. So if anybody is writing the automation code, Selenium automation code with C#, they can choose spec flow or NBehave. And anybody who is writing the Selenium automation code in Java, they can choose JBehave and Cucumber. Okay, so as I told, Cucumber not only for Selenium automation, okay, it can also be used for any other automation, tool which works on Java code. Okay, any automation test which you write using the Java, you can go with Cucumber or JBehave. Any automation code which you write with C#, you can choose and behave or spec flow. Okay. And again, I'm mentioning Cucumber is the famous tool comparatively the JBehav, and most of the companies are going with Cucumber. Both are very similar tool. If you work on Cucumber, you can also can able to work on JBehav. A very similar keyword fashion and very similar way of writing the test and executing the test. Not much difference. But anyway, we go with Cucumber as it is more famous and more opportunities. Okay, so initially Cucumber used to support the application, the automation code which are written in Ruby. Okay, now they extended to Java, GroovyScript, JavaScript. There are many other programming languages. You can see all those mentioned here.
So Sudhir, now this supports this many language?
Yeah, Cucumber supports all these languages.
Oh, so huge. Okay.
Except, yeah, these two things are too different.
Okay.
For .NET, you have SpecFlow, and PHP, you have, there is another one. But other things are supported by Cucumber.
Okay.
Yeah. So what are the advantages of Cucumber, which we already just discussed? Okay. So using Cucumber, we can write test cases in plain English test. Okay. We can write automation test cases to give more. It acts as a bridge between the business and technical language, right? So the people who are into technical, the people who are into business can also able to understand the Cucumber way of writing the test cases. Cucumber supports different languages like Java, Ruby, Python, .NET, etc. Okay, so using the Cucumber, you can combine Cucumber with any automation which are written in Ruby, Python, .NET, anything. Okay. So you might have a question: if these test cases are written in plain English text, if these test cases are written in plain English text, how these can be executed, right? So as I told, the format of the Cucumber test is, it starts with a future file, and it can contain n number of scenarios. It can contain 2 scenarios, or it can contain 20 scenarios, or it can contain 100 scenarios. Okay, a future file which contains n number of scenarios, and as I told, every scenario contains steps. These are called steps. Every scenario contains number of steps. Every scenario contains number of steps. All these are steps.
So Sudhir, this scenario is compulsory, but keyword is compulsory, right?
Yeah, these keywords are mandatory. So then only we can say these are in the Cucumber format.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So now let's talk about the Gherkin language, which is used in writing the Cucumber test. In Cucumber, we use Gherkin language to define the test, as we discussed. Gherkin is the plain English test language that Cucumber understands. Okay, so if you forgot to miss these keywords like given or when or whatever it is, okay, so then it is nothing but that is not in the Gherkin language, and Cucumber cannot follow it, or Cucumber cannot understand it. Okay, it will throw syntax errors. It is a business readable domain specific language that lets you describe software's behaviors without detailing how the behavior is implemented. Okay, so when it comes to the business people, it doesn't matter how these steps are executed, right? They only wants to understand what test you have written. They only wants to figure it out if there are any missing test cases. Okay, so they only focus on the feature file, and they'll go through the scenarios that you have written. If at all any missing scenario, they will let you know to add it. And how these steps are executed is very much internal to the technical people. They will handle that. Like we are the person who will be handling that. The automation testers will be handling that. Gherkin is a line-oriented language that uses indentation to define structure. Okay, so you give some spaces, right? You give some spaces. That is nothing but indentation. Even if you don't follow it, that is okay. But it is good to give some space so that it looks great. Gherkin uses the keywords to define the behaviors. Okay, these are the behaviors. You can say these are the steps or these are the behaviors. The behaviors are defined by the Gherkin keywords such as the given, when, etc. and scenario, future, all those things. Yeah, any questions so far? Okay, we'll move on. So to summarize what we discussed so far, so Cucumber is a behavior-driven development tool. In simple, Cucumber is a BDD tool using which you can write the test in a plain English text, also called as the Gherkin language. When you are writing the Cucumber test, you use the Gherkin keywords to define the future scenario and steps. The Cucumber tool is very much famous because you write the Cucumber test in the plain English words or in the plain English text that can be readable by business people too, right? Okay, so if you want to understand, what software or what dependencies we need, so this is what we need. Okay, so when you're working with Cucumber and Selenium, so definitely you will be needing a Selenium dependencies, Selenium jars, and you will be needing Cucumber Java jars, and you will be needing Cucumber JUnit jars and JUnit. Okay, so if anyone is very much fond of test engine, okay, so if anyone is very much interested towards test engine, so one limitation from the Cucumber is Cucumber officially does not support test engine. So if you remember in our previous batches, we talked about Selenium with test engine, right? So all of you are my previous students.
Yes,
right? So we talked about Selenium with test engine.
yes.
But when it comes to Cucumber, so yeah, one unfortunate thing about Cucumber is Cucumber officially does not support test engine. Okay, so unofficially there are people who customize or who manipulate and somehow they support test engine. There are some plugins to support the test engine, but those are not matured. Those are not so great. You see a lot of problems. Okay, so that's why we don't focus on test engine. Okay, so Cucumber officially supports JUnit. Okay, so we write the test in the JUnit style. Okay, so when as I told, a scenario can contain number of steps, right? A scenario contains number of steps. When a step is executed, how these scenarios are executed. Okay, how these features and scenarios are executed. It's through JUnit. Okay, so the report is also in the JUnit format. So there are multiple ways of getting the reports. So there are Cucumber fashion report, there are JUnit fashion report, there are multiple different formats of report. We'll be seeing them one by one. Yeah. So one thing I wanted to clear you that, so Cucumber has support with JUnit. We'll be running the code. We'll be running the Cucumber test, and you know, and we'll be using the assertions, everything from JUnit. Okay. So no test ng. So that is one thing I wanted to clear all of you. Yeah, there is a support to test ng, but as I told, that is not approved kind of thing. Okay, you see a lot of troubles and problems. So that's the reason I don't suggest anyone to go with test ng, because Cucumber officially, even in their documentation, officially they mentioned that they support JUnit. The way you run the Cucumber test using JUnit, the assertions that we use it from the JUnit. Okay. So a few terms you need to understand. For example, let's say login.future. So this is how you write the test. Okay. Yeah.
We write in our Selenium Java dot Java, but here we
No.
will write.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So there it is a dot Java. Here it is a dot future. Okay. So this is how you create the future files. Make sure every future file end with dot future extension. Okay. And this future file contain, yeah, let's copy these things. Okay. It'll be like this. You can say login.future. Sorry, I don't know why this is coming up here. FEATURE login.future.
So the feature file we are writing in Notepad.
No, we use Eclipse editor. Okay.
Okay.
For now, I'm just showing the notepad.
Okay. Yes.
So Cucumber supports. Cucumber has add-on with Eclipse. You can write Cucumber features files from the Eclipse. You can use Eclipse to write the Cucumber feature files, and you can use the Eclipse to run the Cucumber feature files. Okay, and it also validates the syntactical errors. It doesn't come with by default. You have to add an add-on to the Eclipse to support Cucumber. Like if you remember, we have added a testng plugin to the Eclipse
Yes.
to support testng. So similarly, we have to add Cucumber plugin to Eclipse to support Cucumber based writing of tests and executing them. Okay. So this is what I explained in the Cucumber future. You take any future file. You take any future file which has 100 scenarios or 1,000 scenarios or whatever it is. Okay. Any future file will be looking like this. A future with set of scenarios. May I know who joined? Is it Akraman?
Yeah, Sudhir, I just joined.
Okay, Kamal. Yeah. Um, yeah. So we have hardly another 20 minutes of class today. Okay. And Kamal, I'll just brief you what we have discussed so far. So we are talking about Cucumber. What is Cucumber? And how do we write the Cucumber test? Okay. So we write the Cucumber test something like this. The Cucumber test will be in the very plain English text, which can be readable and understandable by the business people and client and any other non-technical people, so that they can understand, they can read the test that you have written, and they can able to suggest you if there are any missing tests. Okay, so basically this is what we write the Cucumber test. So a feature file which contain number of scenarios, it can be 2 scenarios or it can be 100 scenarios. Okay, you see any feature file, typically it will be looking like this. Maybe they will be having extra few more keywords which I'll be talk about going forward, but at very high level this is how a feature file will be looking like, and this is how a Cucumber tests are written. In Cucumber, test cases are written in a feature file using Gherkin language. A feature file contains set of scenarios. You can see that. So in our case, how many scenarios are there? There are 2 scenarios. Every scenario can be considered as a test case. Scenarios are written in plain English text. Okay. Each scenario contains set of steps starting with Gherkin keyword. Okay. You take any scenario which contains number of steps. Every line is a step. Every line is a step. Every line is a step. So now the question is, when I execute this feature file where the Cucumber scenarios are written, how these scenarios are executed? How these scenarios are executed? Okay. Every step, as I told, a scenario contains number of steps. Okay. Every step will have a corresponding. Every step will have a every scenario will have a corresponding step definition. Okay. So in the step definition, you write the actions. You write the actions to be performed for the step. So for this particular step, there is a step definition. So in the step definition, you write what actions to be performed for that particular test in the Java code. In very simple words, every step will be associated with the Java code. When a step is executed, in the scenario, when a step is executed, it will invoke the corresponding associated Java code, and that actually performs your step.
So for every step, we are writing Java code.
Yeah, for every step, we write a step definition. The step definition basically in the Java code. If you are using Cucumber with Java, the code will be in Java. If you are using Cucumber with Ruby, then make sure your code is in Ruby.
Okay.
Yeah. So how we are going to implement the step definition and how we are going to write the code in a structured manner? Okay, so that is what our actual classes. In our regular classes, I'll show how we supposed to write the code, how we supposed to organize and manage the code. So in Cucumber, if you don't follow certain rules and guidelines of writing the code, you'll see a lot of problems. You'll wonder why there are many browsers are opening and you don't have any clue how to control that. So we should write the code in a very organized manner so that we don't see any problems. So otherwise, it'll be a very troublesome.
So Sudhir, here for this, it supports for all the steps we're writing. So Selenium code also we can write, right?
Selenium code also we supposed to write Selenium code.
Yeah, okay.
So if you're using Cucumber for Selenium with Java, then we'll be writing the Selenium code too.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions so far? So I'll be explaining how we'll be writing the step definition. For every step, we are supposed to write a step definition, which is actually a Java code. Okay, how we are going to write and how we are going to organize our code. Okay, so in the Cucumber with Selenium and Java, we also follow page object model, and we also follow object repository model. Okay, but when it comes to data driven concept, so how do we achieve data driven concept in Selenium? Anybody remember?
Yeah, we can
Please go ahead.
using Excel sheets also.
Correct. Yeah, so we use an Excel sheet. We separate the data and we keep it in so we separate the data and we keep it in an Excel file. Okay, and that's how we manage the data driven concept in Selenium and Java, right? So when it comes to Cucumber, the way we do the data driven concept is completely different. Okay, we don't use Excel sheets anymore. Cucumber has its own inbuilt data driven concept and we follow that, and it is much more simpler than using the Excel sheet. Okay,
so that's why I think it will be fast actually.
Yeah, so it is a very easy way of using the data driven concept. The way Cucumber has a data driven concept is very much understandable and very much readable, as well as we can easily code it. Okay, and so how we are going to deal with the data driven concept in the Cucumber is what we'll be learning new stuff.
Yeah.
So I'll talk about how we run the future file. Okay, you can run one single future file like this, or you can run multiple future files by comma separated, or you give a folder which has future files, so that it will pick up each feature file and run it. Okay, how we are going to run the feature file and what kind of format of report we are going to get. Okay, so this is the Cucumber format of getting the report, and this is pretty format of getting the report. There are much more formats I'll talk about going forward. I'm just briefly talking about it. During our classes, I'll practically show how we are going to run the feature file, all those stuff. So this is one slide which tell you in how many ways of running the Cucumber feature files. You can run the Cucumber files using the JUnit runner. You can run the Cucumber feature files from the command line. and it also support with Android and third-party runner options. Yeah, and annotations are Gherkin keywords, both are same. Okay, do not confuse with some people say, can you tell me some of the annotations that you use in Gherkin? Some people say, can you tell me some of the Gherkin keywords? Okay, don't confuse, annotations and keywords, both are same. Yeah, so if you wonder how I support data driven, so this is how we'll support the data driven. The data is kept in the format of table. The data that you are going to use in the data driven concept is kept in the format of table. Okay, every row is a data which could given to a test. Don't worry about that. I'll talk about during the classes. And every scenario can be tagged. Okay, every scenario or future can be tagged, and you can run the test according to the tags. Okay, so let's say you want to run all the scenarios which are tagged with smoke test. You want to run all the tests which are tagged with regression test. You want to run all the tests which are tagged with version 1.0. So you want to test all the scenarios which are tagged with version 1.2. Okay, so you want to test all the scenarios which are related to the login. Okay, so every scenario can be tagged, and you can run the scenarios using the tags. So tagging is basically to group the scenarios, to group the test. If you want to group the set of scenarios which are available across the futures, right? The scenarios are written across the futures. You have some scenarios in the login future. You have some scenarios in the profile future. You have some scenarios in the account summary future. Okay. And you want to run a set of scenarios which are across the future file. So tags can be helpful. So basically, tags in Koo Kumba is used to group the scenarios, and you can run those grouped test cases with the help of tags. So how we are going to deal tags in Koo Kumba, we'll be talking in detail during our classes. Hooks. Okay, so there are certain code. There is certain code which you wanted to, or there are certain steps. Okay, there are certain steps. We'll talk in the manner of Koo Kumba. There are certain steps which you want to run before every scenario. Before every scenario, you want to run set of steps. And after every scenario, you want to run set of steps. Okay, then you can use hooks. So hooks has two annotations. One is at after and at before, which can be executed and before and after every scenario. We'll talk about hooks in detail during our classes. Okay, so I'm just briefing about each topic that we are going to work in Koo Kumba. Okay, for today I'm just talking about a very brief detail of each topic. So yeah, at before and the background. So there is a concept on at before is nothing but hooks. This is what. Okay, and background is a different concept. We'll talk about it. So how do we execute Koo Kumba test in parallel? Very important. It's not very easy to run the Koo Kumba test in parallel. There is no direct support.
But Sudhir, here one question. So parallel, actually, when we are running in single machine, I think we cannot achieve even for Selenium and our.
We can achieve.
Parallel means, but it will
Parallel is nothing but what? So let's open two browsers.
same time will our machine open?
It works. It works.
Oh, I was thinking our CPU is always one, and it will be as a concept sequence basis. First browser, second browser two, like that. No, like
No.
Oh,
Parallel it will work. Okay, parallel.
okay.
So as I mean, if your machine is so strong and it is a much powerful machine, okay, so yeah, you can open a number of browsers parallelly. Selenium has very powerful mechanism of detecting which browser belongs to which test. So it will take care of it. You can run the test in parallel in the same machine. So when it comes to Cucumber, how do we execute Cucumber future files in parallel? Okay. So how do we execute Cucumber future files in parallel? So that is what our topic. And we'll also work on a framework. We'll also work on a demo project. We'll take one in our previous class we have taken in the previous Selenium training we have taken WordPress.com as a demo project. We'll take the same project, okay, and we use Cucumber, Selenium, Java, and we built a framework using which we built a framework. First, we'll build a framework and we'll write the test cases. I'll show you all those things, how to do that. Again, when it comes to Cucumber, you should have a framework in place to organize your Cucumber features and the step definitions and page classes, right? So you should have a proper framework to write the code in a more organized so that it can be easy to readable and understand and to manage the code as well as.
So here Cucumber doesn't support parallel execution. So this is out of box, but we are trying in different manner.
Exactly. As I told, it is very hard to work with Cucumber parallel execution. Okay, there is no direct support from Cucumber itself. Okay, but there are people who manage to do that. Okay, yeah, we can do that. That's not a problem. It's not so friendly, but once you do it once a time, and that's it. So if you know how to do it, and that is done, you don't need to worry about every time. Okay, for the first time we have some hard time to work on, but later, yeah, and now I know how to do that and I can show you the same and you can follow it.
Sure.
Okay, so what is important in when it comes to Cucumber, what is important is, so in the training I'll be talking about how to write a future file, how to write the scenarios, and how each scenario can be associated. Every scenario will have number of steps, right? As I told, every scenario will have number of steps. These are the steps. Okay, so how these steps can be associated with step definition. Step definition is nothing but the piece of Java code. Okay, how every step is associated with step definition, how to avoid duplication of step definitions. So this is very much important. Okay, so in simple words, I'll tell you, in the login feature, you have this step given WordPress application. And this step is very common. It is also will be there in profile feature. It also will be there in account summary feature, because without opening the application, how do you move further, right? So this step is very common everywhere. But if you don't write the code in a proper manner, this particular step will have lot of step definitions unnecessary. There will be a lot of duplicate code. Okay, so how we avoid the duplicate code? Okay, so it's also one important concept we'll be dealing with. I'll tell you one thing. Can you see this O is capital here? Okay, open WordPress application is a step. Now it is a small open. Okay, the open is the small letter, right? So this is also considered as a different step. Many people don't understand that. Okay, it is case sensitive. You think that open or WordPress application, this step and this step both are same, but actually those two are two different steps. Cucumber treats them as two different steps and creates, and you're supposed to create two separate step definitions for them. Okay, so there are many ways that unknowingly we create lot of duplication code, and I will be telling you how to deal with that, how to avoid the duplication code, and how to implement data-driven concept in the Cucumber, how to work with hooks, and how to work with the background concept, how to work with tags. What are the different ways of running the Cucumber feature files? What are the different ways of getting the reports? How Cucumber can be integrated with Selenium? How we run the Cucumber Selenium test with more organized by creating a framework? How we can run the Cucumber parallel test and a demo project altogether. So all these topics will be covering in our Cucumber classes.
So then for reports, it will you will be only JUnit or some Cucumber report also is there?
There are different formats of Cucumber, different formats of generating the reports. One is JUnit format and Cucumber format, and there is a pretty format, JSON format, and customized format. I'll also showing you customized format.
Okay.
Okay. So any questions so far?
No, sir.
So we'll be starting our official classes, okay, from the next Saturday and Sunday onwards. So from next week, hardly I'll be needing strictly 3 weeks, okay, to complete all the training which I promised. Maybe I might take one more weekend extra, okay. So consider the maximum time for completing this training is a month, okay. So 3 weeks I committed. There could be possibility I might extend to one more Saturday or including Sunday, one more Saturday or one more weekend, okay. So it depends on how we progressed. Akramal, I'll be sharing this video to you separately. I'll be sharing this video because you joined in between. I'll share this video. So yeah. So basically, this is what Akramal, which will be most concentrated. If you see that this is the traditional way of writing the code. Okay, only technical people can understand. And if your manager or if your client wants to understand this normal way of writing the test code, they cannot understand. They'll break their head to understand, right? Okay. So to bridge the gap between the technical people and the business people who wants to understand the test code, okay. So we have the Cucumber way of writing that code. So when it comes to Cucumber, we write the test. We write the test in a plain English text so that anyone belongs to that particular project can able to understand this code. Writing the code in this fashion, we call it as behavior driven development. You write the behaviors first. These are the behaviors. This is one behavior. This is one behavior. You write the behavior first. Make sure it is approved by your product owner. Make sure it is approved by your technical lead. And you correct the scenarios if there are any feedback given. Then associate every scenario for a code, every scenario with a code. Okay. So as I told, every step will have a corresponding associated step definition that is written in the Java code. When you execute the scenario, each step will be executed. When each step is executed, the corresponding step definition, the corresponding Java code will be executed. That is how your tests are executed. Okay. So this is the background XML I was talking about before you came. So it has a Cucumber code will be written. Cucumber test will be written in a feature file, .feature file, which is starts with feature and contains a number of scenarios. Okay, so each scenario will be written in a plain English text that is also called as Gherkin language. Every step is written in a plain English text followed by a Gherkin keyword. So I'm done for today. I want to take if at all any questions you are having. Otherwise, same time, same meeting to next week.
And Sudeep, I recorded, but it's not recording for me. So can you please?
No problem. I'll share the video.
Yeah.
Ajay.
Yeah, thank you.
Shudit,
Yes.
this is Ikramul, by the way.
Yeah.
Just a quick question on the Gherkin. Gherkin is a separate language, or
Yeah, people say it is a separate language, but you don't. It is as similar as English, except that these extra keywords.
okay, those are the keywords that given through the
These
Cucumber,
are the
right?
these are the keywords which are driven from Gherkin language.
Oh, Gherkin language. Okay.
Yeah. So Gherkin language is the one which can understand by the Cucumber.
Okay.
Okay. So in the Gherkin language, you write the test in a plain English words, but only the difference is you follow by a keyword so that Cucumber understands.
Okay. And another question on in terms of the framework, right? So, are you using the JUnit or the TestNG building the framework on Cucumber?
Cucumber supports only JUnit, so we forced to go with JUnit.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So there are unapproved way of handling the Cucumber with TestNG, but that is not recommended.
Okay. And what are the types of the framework that exist in Cucumber? It's just only the data driven that I heard.
Can you repeat?
Types of the framework that can be supported in Cucumber. Is it only the data driven or
No. Okay. So Cucumber has inbuilt way of handling the data driven. Okay. So we don't use Excel sheets anymore when it comes to Cucumber. It has its own way of handling the data driven, and it is pretty easy too. Okay. And other than that, yeah. So Cucumber is combined with Java. At one point, you have to write the Java code to execute your steps, right? Okay. So you can follow a hybrid framework too.
Okay.
When it comes to Cucumber, you can write page update model, right? And you can go with the data driven. Of course, that is supported by Cucumber inbuilt. Okay. Page update model, data driven, and object repository. And yeah, so you can integrate with Map and you can integrate with Jenkins and you run parallel execution. So yeah, so by combining all these different framework components, we can also say that Cucumber supports hybrid framework.
Just for one last thing, sorry for catching up so many questions at the last moment.
No problem.
And are you going to show up how is this going to be converting with the Jenkins for the framework? Or is it just only the few Cucumber that you're just going to show?
1 second.
Okay. Are you going to showing us the step-by-step is how you're going to setting up the framework with the Jenkins for the nightly batches run and all this? Or
no. So yeah, Jenkins is a separate thing, right? So we are not going to deal too much with Jenkins. Okay. So we already know that if there is a pom.xml, how we can execute from the Jenkins. Right. So Jenkins, you create a Jenkins job and you invoke the pom.xml that will invoke test. Right. So I'll show Cucumber with Jenkins, but not in very detailed. Okay, because that is the job of a Jenkins administrator. So I can show how, I can show in creating a job and executing the test from a Jenkins job. Okay, which is required for an automation tester. So how you create a Jenkins job and how you can run the job that in turn will execute your Koo Kumba test from the Jenkins. In simple words, from the Jenkins, how you execute your Koo Kumba future files. That is what I'm going to show.
Okay.
That nightly bills and scheduling is the job of Jenkins administrator, which is not part of our course.
Okay.
So there you will show that how you are just to trigger the bills which code we have kept in Bitbucket or something, or from our machine.
No, that is again not part of the course.
Okay. Means from local only we will trigger this.
Because keeping the code in the repository is again so it's not part of the course.
Okay, sure.
But I can guide you how can you do that. But yeah.
Yes.
Any other questions? Yeah, if anybody wants anything strictly which I'm not supporting in this training, yeah, you can contact me separately. We'll see how we can deal that. But overall, how you can write the Koo Kumba test for Selenium, Java, right? So that is what we'll be dealing with, and what are the different topics in Koo Kumba, and how we can execute Selenium automation test using the Koo Kumba, how we can run different formats of reports, and hooks and background, parallel execution, Maven integration, and Jenkins job integration. So this is what more focused here. And I'll show you a framework. I'll create one automation framework with the Koo Kumba, so that the training will be completely done. So majority of the trainers, I also attended one workshop from my company, okay, on Koo Kumba. Though I know how Koo Kumba works, okay, anyway, it is coming for free to me. I just attended a workshop, okay. So where they not even talked about framework, they left us to us, they left the framework concepts to us. So it is a 3-day training. It's just nothing useful for me.
Okay.
So understanding, going to that workshop, I could able to understand so what is required for, because that workshop does not given any input, much inputs to me. So when it comes to framework, I have to write the framework on my own. When I started writing the automation framework with the Koo Kumba, I faced a lot of challenges. Okay, so I see a lot of browsers are opening, and then I couldn't able to control it in the very beginning. So I faced all those challenges, and so I'll explain all those things, and you can overcome from this training. Okay, so yeah, let's meet on the next Saturday. It's going to be our first regular class. Okay, some of the points I might repeat once again. Okay, so do not worry. So the practical classes are going to start from next Saturday. So I'll take one website, I'll start writing the Koo Kumba test, and how we execute them, and the more structured way of writing the code. So all those things will come into picture from the next week onwards. Any questions? I'm done for today before we leave the meeting.
No.
Yeah.
So it's going to be the same time, right?
It's the same time, 8 p.m. IST. Okay. Today you joined, I think, some 20 minutes delay, but it's 8 p.m. IST.
And every Saturday, Sunday, right?
Every Saturday and Sunday for next 3 or 4 weeks.
Okay.
So 8 to 10 it will be?
8 to 10, yes, exactly.
Oh.
Indian time, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. IST Indian time. Yeah, you can let me know any concerns, any difficulties or anything separately. We can discuss on that. Okay, or you can ping me on WhatsApp or you can directly call me. So we'll deal with that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, so see you on next Saturday. Take care. Bye.